What is the most important thing you want to leave behind once you retire?
A legacy.
I started to come to Organia around 2008, 2009. I first came here because I knew all the best pilots in the world were training there, and I needed to come there if I wanted to be anyone in that sport. When I first arrived there, I was mind blown. The place was incredible and the amount of airtime I could get there was incredible. When I got there, the first person I met was Horacio and later Raul, and they kind of both took me under their wings and gave me a lot of advices, showed me a lot of stuff, and they really shared their knowledge with me straight away. And this, I think, really shaped me as a pilot.
The first time I met Theo was here in Organya in 2009. He was 14 years old child. He was really focused pilot to be so young, and I was really amazed by his, the way he was really being serious about training, you know, and about learning to be as good as possible, motivating me at the same time. It was really good. Theo was 15 years old when he managed to do his first infinity tumbling, and when we land, I say, "Hey Theo, man, amazing! You did infinity tumbling, your first one. How do you feel?" And he was a bit serious, you know, watching to me, and yeah, it was good, but it was not perfect. And then I realized, wow, this dude is gonna be amazing. He's gonna be one of the best for sure.
It's impossible to speak about acro paragliding without speaking of Raul Rodriguez. Raul was the godfather, the father, the grandfather. He was acro paragliding, and he kind of made it what it is today. Most of what we do today is thanks to Raul.
I'm Raul Rodriguez. I fly since 1987. And then I love the acro from this moment, and I start to create these maneuvers. It was more like from 1999 that I start to create the new maneuvers. But finally I get most of the important maneuvers that now we have. So yes, the creator of the acro.
And Raul has built most of our tricks, the majority of our tricks that we are flying now, with some different combination, with some different style, but they are originally from Raul. And the most known, the most well-known trick was for sure the infinity tumbling, which Raul performed back in the early 2000s, and with gliders which were complete crap. Basically, he was alone training those tricks, and he was really pushing at that point. After Raul stopped competing, gave the sport to other people, the second era was Paltakats. Paltakats was the one who was trying new things, who was pushing. And in 2012, he came out with Evolution. So Evolution was basically a clip to present the latest invention from PAL, which were the Esfera, the Cork, the Joker, and the Cowboy. The Joker, the Cork, and the Cowboy are the main tricks we are flying today. They are the most advanced, the most technical, and the most rewarding trick that we are flying.
My name is Pál Takács. I'm from Hungary and I'm a 2 times overall acro World Cup champion in solo and 1 time in synchro. Yeah, I started acro paragliding in Hungary on the small hills where we were soaring a lot and top landing and playing on the takeoff, but at some point it just became a little boring and we wanted to develop ourselves further. We basically started to learn wingovers and stalls, and it was really an exchange between us. Whoever somebody begin to understand something a little better, he shared it with the others, and we kept pushing ourselves further and further. I'm really happy that this evolution in acro paragliding short film became such an iconic piece in our little scene. I thought it's nice to film something like that because we managed to step up basically to another level with all the multi-connections and the Esfera and the tricks I developed. So I found it a good moment in time to capture the state of the scene and to basically, save it for future generations. And only later I realized that it actually had quite a positive effect in the scene. Yeah, around the end of my competition career, around 2009, 10, 11, I developed a couple of new tricks. I think the one that I'm most proud of is probably the anti-rhythmic. Today this turned to be the regular way for everybody learning to infinity tumble, to basically exit the maneuver without having to do anything, and it really actually had an unexpected benefit to make the sport much safer than it used to be, because we used to stall the infinity out, and that's quite a committing maneuver. But now everybody who can straighten up the tumble, just go hands up, and step by step you're gonna come down to the side. After thousands of repetitions of the same maneuvers, as also Theo said in the Evolution movie, it got kind of boring. Sat to heli, heli to sat, heli to heli. We've been always just practicing all those connections, but I realized that why not combine 3 maneuvers in one combination in a very quick and short manner. And this is how the multi-connections came alive, like the Joker and the Cowboy. Then I realized, wow, out of the exit I can basically just go into a sat and then into a helico.
I think I was among the very first to try them because I saw Pál trying them for the movie, and so I was trying them straight after him, trying to do Jokers, Cowboy. So immediately I was drawn toward those tricks and towards those new tricks that were coming along. At that time, I was starting to compete. My first season were great. I was in the top 5 and I was very happy. But I never really managed for several seasons in a row to really take that next step. I was always between 6th and 4th, and I never really managed to take that very next step. And so in my head, the only way to push forward was to come with something new, to come with a trick that no one ever did. And I thought that it would bring me towards podiums in World Cup and eventually win competitions. And that's where the twisted era started.
It's different times in acro. First one was when I started to learn all the maneuvers that existed. It was for me it was the list from the magazines. I just have a list of maneuvers like windovers, like collapse, like V-stall, negative, spiral. This was my mission to understand and to control all these maneuvers. And at the time that I control of them, it was not much to do anymore, like all dynamics. The maximum was the loop. So from this moment was the next era, the era of the SAT, like symmetric SAT, tumbling, and then to infinity. This was from 2000 to 2004. From this time I started to play the twisted maneuvers.
So what you have to understand is that Raúl was flying twisted way before me, way before anyone else, but he was flying basic tricks like stall, like misties.
Fly straight and then make a negative to go out, to exit, like misty flip or Mach twist, like very simple. then was progressing to win-overs, loop, and finally sat around 2012. The new boys arrived and saw me doing sat, and then they create all the rest of infinity twisted and all these twisted high-level maneuvers that I'm still learning.
And in a coupe car in 2012, I saw Raul fly a twisted sat, and he was really proud of flying a twisted sat, and we were all like, wow, it's amazing, and I started to chat with him. And straight after the coupe car, I said, okay, I will try the twisted sat as well. I tried the twisted sat, and immediately I felt the door for something else. I felt the door for the sat to heli. And what I did is the next flight, I twisted myself, did the twisted sat to heli. I was quite young at the time. I just posted it on Facebook, sent it to Raul, and the response was like huge, way bigger than what I would have expected, because it didn't seem difficult to me at all. It just was like normal and natural. Few weeks passed by, fall started to turn in, and I was like, maybe I think rhythmic is possible. I think twisted rhythmic should be possible. And in my head, twisted rhythmic was kind of a way for me to finally get that next step, to finally get into the podium in World Cups, because in my head, if I was the only one doing twisted rhythmic, I was gonna win. I arrived one day in Saint-Hilaire, super low place, 500 meters, was almost raining, like super low cloud base. Did one run, started one twisted rhythmic, boom, straight away I climbed easily, like a few pulls. After a few pulls I was almost over the glider. I exited because I was like, okay, maybe I need to check it out, I need to check the video, was it true, or what's my altitude, etc. I was a kid, I just went up again, no fear, just went for it, and on the second flight I was like, okay, whatever happens, rescue or not, I will try to climb to the top and we will see what's gonna happen, So I did my twisted rhythmic, I started to pull, the glider climbed super easily, and I arrived on top, vertical into infinite, did one turn, then exit. And I was like, wow, I did it. It's like, wow, it's brand new, it's a world first, it's amazing. And in my head, it was like huge, but in my head, it was huge, but not as huge as what it ended up being, because straight after I did it, posted it again on social media, then the response was twice bigger, because everyone was like, what the fuck, it's twisted rhythmic, it's in infinite twisted. I got so many congratulations from my idols, Pal, Raul, Horacio. They were like, it was mind-blowing for me.
2012, when Theo made the twisted rhythmic and twisted infinity, for me was like a really crazy. It was impossible for me to imagine before. Like, I imagined sat, but it was like, I don't know why I never imagined that I can go to infinity twisted. No?
And suddenly, when I brought in the twisted rhythmic, everyone started to go crazy. And then we started to see twisted tumbling appear, twisted heli to sat, and twisted anti-rhythmic. Everything started to be flown twisted. And it was kind of a race of who would fly the most twisted the fastest, And it was incredible, because we were like, every day something new was coming up. Every day was like a new trick. Every day someone was doing a new trick. And rapidly, comp were flown only twisted. You could not fly a comp if you were not flying twisted. And rapidly, Pal's trick started to be the goal. Fly the Joker, the Cork, and the Cowboy twisted. That's what we wanted to do. That was the hardest trick we had at the time. Flying them twisted was the ultimate goal.
That was really nice to see how the guys basically find their way to push the sport further and bring it up to the next level, which is now it's extremely technical and you need a lot of practice, and there are so many more combinations possible with all the twisting here, twisting there, and reverse and opposite tricks.
Yeah, acro will evolve a lot more. When I look at the past, the history of acro, the last few years, how it evolved has been incredible. Like, we don't really get new tricks, but we make a lot of variations and we make it super technical. Every year we find new tricks and we push the limits. When I started acro, twisted was already there. I didn't know when I started, but I saw people on the dune where I fly in my home place. I saw them flying twisted, and I knew that they did it already before, but I didn't know at one level. And when I came to Argana, yeah, everything was full twisted.
So from 2014 onwards, I started to change my competing strategies in order to delete the infinite, delete everything which was infinite related, to focus more on the helicos and the twisted maneuvers. It didn't work so well at the very beginning, but rapidly it started to work out, and by 2016 I was winning the acro game, which was the most rewarding competition we had at the time.
Acro game is about a battle, two pilots in the air, battling to know who is the best or more creative in the air, especially because if you arrive with new tricks, you have more bullets than the others. It's about four letters, acro, 4 letters. So if I do one trick and you cannot do it, I put you a letter. If you do one trick and I cannot do it, you put me a letter. So at the end of the day, it's a game. That's why it's called acro game. It's fun in the air. It's here in Organyà, our mountain, our place. And it's also really good because you are warm. You know, you are flying for hours during the competition. As the organizer of acro game, I'm really proud to see that this competition helped to motivate the pilots, to motivate the pro pilots to be more creative. So I think it was really important for the sport, and I hope that we are gonna come back with this competition here in Organyà, because yeah, I love to see the pilots trying new things. This is what from the beginning of my career I've seen, you know, the evolution, every step, every evolution is helping everyone to have better level, is helping everyone to be a better pilot, and is helping also the community to grow, to have more followers, you know.
And in 2017, I was the Acro World Tour champion at the end of the season. So at that time, I was at the peak of my career and I was managing every trick perfectly, and I think I was one of the best pilots in the world. And in 2018, I came in, I was #1 in the world, #1 in the FAI ranking. So basically I was a reigning champion and I wanted to defend my title. And 2018 went sideways. Basically, I won all the competition I didn't care about, and I was second in all the competitions I cared about. The first day after the competition season, I was depressed, I was super low, and I was trying to think, okay, what can I do? How can I change this? Because I don't want to leave this. I experienced being first and I don't want to experience being second anymore. And that's more or less when suddenly there started to be a topic on social media about the Superstall to Infinite. What's important to realize is that Superstall to Infinite has been a topic since the very beginning of acro paragliding. It's always been a topic. It's always been kind of a legend. Will it be possible? And in 2018, a Canadian guy, David Thibodeau, started to kind of challenge us to try it again. And what we did was Igor tried it first. Igor went into his shitty spot in Russia, super low, what I thought was incredible. He did one try and his try was good. He sent his try to us and we were like, wow, it's pretty good. So I was like, okay, it's a good try. I need to try too.
My name is Igor Pasokhin. I'm 32 years old. I'm from Russia, from south of Russia. I'm a professional paragliding pilot. It was topic in Facebook. David Thibodeau made it. He said something like, guys, I have idea, but I don't have like enough confidence now with acro paragliding, but I had like really nice idea for trick. You should try with new gliders, with everything, you know. It's gonna be not really hard and stuff like that. And a lot of people was commenting this. It was super interesting for public, and I don't know, in one day I just tried to let it go. It passed, and I fell down. It was not clean, but like it was shit, but I didn't fall to my canopy, you know. And then I just posted in comments just for fun to see what's gonna happen. Yeah, and then I forget about this trick for a really long time, maybe for 1 or 2 months. Yeah.
So I took my car, packed all my stuff, several harnesses, several rescues, drove to Garda, in Lake Garda in Italy, with the main goal of trying Superstall to infinite. In the meantime, I watched hours and hours of footage. I kind of identified the reason why some students in SIVs ended up doing stall to infinite by mistake, and I arrived to Garda quite ready to try. The first try was great. The first try was what I thought really promising, and it was great. But the thing is, after 15-20 tries, I was still at the exact same point. There was no way I was gonna move forward because my technique was not changing. I was trying to change little things, but the result was not changing. My tries were always the same.
Je me souviens que Théo a passé pour la première fois le Stall to Infinite. On était à Garda ensemble. À cette époque-là, je le suivais un peu comme son ombre, quoi. J'allais partout où il allait. J'essayais de. En fait, l'idée c'était juste de prendre tout ce que je pouvais de ce que lui faisait, et puis moi ça me faisait kiffer en fait de pouvoir le suivre un peu dans tout ce qu'il faisait. Et je me rappelle à ce moment-là, il était vraiment dans un mood genre de. Comme moi je l'ai connu après dans d'autres tricks plus tard, mais c'était la première fois en fait que j'étais face à quelqu'un qui était en train de créer quelque chose qui n'avait jamais été fait avant. Il y avait 80% d'inconnus quoi, de comment on va faire, comment ça va se... Mais a priori c'est supposé être possible. Et puis je me rappelle surtout de cet état d'esprit il y avait Egor qui était en Russie à ce moment-là, et il y avait un espèce de... C'était un challenge, mais qui était ultra bienveillant entre deux, parce qu'ils s'apprécient beaucoup et ils ont énormément de respect l'un pour l'autre. Et chaque essai, chaque truc était vraiment tout, comme toujours en fait, quand il fait un truc, il est toujours tout mesuré. Il y a un risque, mais tu as l'impression qu'en fait ce risque-là, il le réduit au minimum, et que tout doit être prévu. Et tu sais, il n'y a pas de j'envoie et puis on verra bien ce qui se passe.
And then I was chatting with Pal, and Pal was telling me, yeah, I don't think this trick is possible. The only way to make this trick possible is to increase the shoot. And to increase the shoot, I don't see many options except the speed bar. And I was thinking in my head, yeah, maybe the speed bar is the way.
Mais je me rappelle qu'en fait, c'est Pal qui a dit, essaye avec, peut-être en poussant le barreau, en gros, donc en poussant l'accélérateur, ça va peut-être faire quelque chose.
So honestly, when I stopped serious acro flying, I found it was way too dangerous to experiment with, like the misty tumbling and the stall to infinity.
So I went up again. It was the third day, maybe try number like 21, 21st or 22nd. And I tried. I did one try, pushed the speed bar, and the try was really promising. It was my first step forward in a few days. So I was like, ooh, maybe I'm holding something, you know, I'm holding on to something. Went again for another flight, and then after a few tries, boom, Superstall to Infinite was a reality.
Et effectivement, je me rappelle en fait du premier qu'il a passé, parce que j'ai décollé en même temps que lui. J'avais décollé juste un peu après, et j'allais dans le box. Et je me rappelle que j'ai passé genre 5 minutes à aller. J'étais comme ça sous ma voile, et moi aussi je devais m'entraîner et tout, et j'étais là en train de le regarder. Et je regarde son premier essai, et je le vois passer le premier tour, un peu comme il passait avant, un peu genre complètement la voile un peu détendue, etc. Repomper, repasser un deuxième tour, troisième tour, et bam bam. Même moi qui n'étais pas sous la voile, sous l'agility bleue à ce moment-là, même moi j'ai ressenti, tu vois, l'espèce d'explosion de joie, tu vois, de satisfaction, etc. Parce que c'était un truc incroyable, quoi.
And I remember the feeling, I was like, wow, this is incredible. And interestingly enough, I was thinking Superstall to Infinite was gonna be big in the acro world. and it was way bigger in the paragliding world because everyone understood the trick. Twisted, no paragliding pilot understands twisted tricks. It's so alien to them, they don't understand it. But Superstall to Infinite, normal pilots, they get it. My name in the acro world was still already quite big, but in the paragliding world, kind of put me on the map straight away. And the video went quite huge as well.
I was really happy for him when he showed me the first video of the working Superstall to Infinity. I was still kind of in doubt if it's a sustainable maneuver that you can control like 10 times out of 10, but you totally can with the right glider and the right piloting. So I'm really happy for him, and I hope that he's gonna keep on inventing stuff.
What was interesting is that when I did the Superstall, I did it because I wanted to do something new, but I didn't do it with the intent of using it to win, because in my head it was gonna be a one-shot trick. But it turned out that the Superstall is now the easiest trick we have. It's somehow just depending on the glider. If you have the right glider, the right technique, it works 100% of the time, and it works perfectly. And so it was perfectly usable in paragliding competition and in an acro competition. And it brought me to 2019, where suddenly I was winning everything.
Twisted. And go for the core, screw, like.
I was winning every comp I was entering. I was the only one able to do the Superstall to Infinite, and it was my best season so far. And in the end of 2019, I knew that we had still some possibilities with those tricks. I knew that the Superstall to Infinite was not the end of the acro paragliding world. It was kind of a beginning. It was opening a new era, a new gap.
At the moment that the trick happened, that I knew that it was going to happen for sure, I was already building in my mind the way to do it. Like which glider I will use, which technique I will use. So the trick came out, and the year after I had my mind and everything focused on that trick already. So once I arrived to Gerlitzen, that was the place where I did it. Actually, it was with the glider I believe was going to happen. Somehow I just believe all the preparation I did, you know, all what was in my mind, I just believed that it could happen. And I had it since 6 or 7 months before in my mind, so sure that I will do it, that when I was going to try to do it, I didn't think if I was the second, if I was the third, if I was whatever, I was sure I was going to do it, you know.
Into those new gaps, a lot of pilots jumped in. Igor was the first one to jump into this gap, and then Hugo Chauvin, a French guy, was the second one to jump into this gap that there was into the paragliding tricks. Somehow at the end of 2019, I went back to Garda with a clear idea of what I wanted to try. I had a clear plan. I wanted to try the flat stall to Infinite, so basically just a full stall without energy. I wanted to try backfly to Infinite, super stall flip to Infinite, so a super stall with a flip, and I wanted to try twisted stall to twisted Infinite. So that was my plan for 2019. went fairly well with most of those tricks working, except the twisted stall to twisted infinite, which kept eluding me because my technique was wrong. I didn't have the right strategy in doing the trick, and it didn't work. But otherwise, I had the back fly, I had the super stall, the flat stall, I had the super stall flip. So I had all those new tricks again in 2019, so just 1 year afterward. So that's when a lot of pilots jumped into the trend. Igor was the first one with the Mac twist to back fly to infinite. Andres Villamizar did the twisted super stall to twisted infinite, and Hugo started to really push the boundaries of this back fly to infinite, with flying all the back fly to infinite tricks possible and trying to push them, to master them, to make them better. He even started to improve the gliders to make the gliders work better. The fact that all those pilots took the super stall to infinite and made it way bigger than it was at the beginning. They made a lot of tricks out of it. They made a lot of tricks out of the tricks I created, like the back fly to infinite suddenly was connected to a lot of different tricks. Twisted super stall to twisted infinite was suddenly possible with a lot of different gliders, a lot of different technique. That's thanks to those guys, thanks to Hugo, who modified the gliders and tried to push us forward. That's thanks to all the acro pilots, the top pilots, who actually were pushing to make a lot more tricks possible, were pushing to invent a new trick. And suddenly the best pilots in the world were not the best only in competition. They were the best at flying the tricks, and they were the best at flying the most hardcore tricks. The group of pilots we have now, this amazing group of talented pilots, actually took everything that I created and pushed it further. And by pushing it further, they are pushing acro paragliding further. And I think they are just highlighting the fact that acro paragliding has such a bright future. The evolutions are endless. We know it now, we know that everything is possible, and we know that right now paragliding is in the hand of a group of pilots who will not stop making the sport grow, making the sport evolve. And I'm so happy to have been a part of this history, and so happy to have been able to leave that legacy to acro.
Look, I don't wanna talk. How you try to press the kid and read it, you was soft. All you know is capping, homie, you don't know the law. Pedal to the metal, you ain't catching me in park. I just hit the stop, I don't wanna speak. Talking all that good, so I just hit you with the please. Running up the score like Tyreek, I'm going deep. Watch me how I'm saucing, I be spreading it with ease. You gon' see the peace, you gon' see the flex when you hear these writtens. Trust me, you know the difference. I got a long ways to climb before you see a slippage. I see the process and the journey I'm supposed to be, but perplexed, cause I don't really see nobody close to me. Hopefully this ain't wasted, and I know it ain't. You gotta take the time for seasoning to marinate. You need the patience under pressure just to detonate. I'm trying to blow up and these heathens need to get it straight. Gifted with a vision and precision, I'm just trying to make it high key. Might be breaking free like I was iron in some Nikes. Tucked at the crib, bro, you know just where to find me. Making beats and spitting crack verses pretty likely. Yeah, I be spreading it with ease. You gon' see the peas, you gon' see the